Welcome to Makers and Movers, the podcast brought to you by AHA Talent Experts, where AI meets human expertise to transform talent acquisition. We are the talent consultancy revolutionizing the way companies assemble their dream teams by enhancing hiring processes, imparting effective interview techniques, and providing full-scale executive search and contract staffing. We integrate the latest AI technology with our deep understanding of human talent. Join us as we dive into stories of leadership and culture in manufacturing and CPG, learning how top teams are built and nurtured. I'm your host, Andrea Hoffer. Today we have a very special show. I'm thrilled to invite as my guest James Ponting, co-founder and CEO at Craft Coast Canning. Welcome, James, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. A pleasure to be here.
Well, great. And I'm really excited to hear your story because I know I've heard bits and pieces of it prior to this, but I want to hear the whole journey. So I'd love to start there. Tell us a little bit about your background and how did you come into growing the business that you have now?
Yeah, certainly. I'm an engineer. I'm a chemical engineer, and prior to being an entrepreneur, I worked in a variety of different industries: oil and gas, construction, project management. I also worked in consumer packaged goods for a company that makes frozen French fries primarily. They make other things too, but that was their main product. So while I was there, I did a lot of work as a process engineer, and became familiar with the industry. But rewind back to my time in university. While I was in university, I enjoyed craft beer. I'm sure, like most university students do and did.
Mhm.
Um, I was an avid home brewer, and my partner and we spent a lot of time at the campus pub where there was local craft beer on tap, and we started to notice that the number of breweries that were in our local area was increasing quickly, but the number of opportunities for them to sell their beer was not increasing. So, one brewery might have had 10 different beers on tap at the university pub, and then that went down to 5 because of competitors coming in, and that became 2, and then that became 1. And so we started asking the question, well, how are they going to survive if they're all just taking each other's market share? And the obvious answer to us was, well, they're going to have to package their products and distribute them. But none of them were at that time. And because I was an avid home brewer, and I knew a lot of people from my home brewing club that had went on to open up microbreweries, I started asking them the question, well, why aren't you packaging your beer? The question, gave us a pretty consistent answer, and that was, at that time, there was not good options for these craft breweries to package their beer. The equipment to do it was prohibitively expensive. They already spent all their startup money just getting the brewery up and running. They didn't have space for the machinery. They didn't have anywhere to buy the cans from. So the ones that were packaging were doing it on a very small scale, just manually bottling their beer. So we asked the question, being interested in potentially starting our own business. Well, what if we were to have the equipment? What if we had the cans? What if we could show up at your brewery with the cans and the equipment? Would you let us package your beer? And we had a really strong response to that. Everybody said, yes, absolutely, we would. So, we had an idea, we saw a need, we had an idea. We got some letters of intent from some of these breweries, and we took it to the bank and got our first loan and bought the equipment, and here we are.
Wow. That's an amazing story. You saw a need and it wasn't something that you could just do very easily. You went out and you got the interest and you used that to get your funding and then start to build your business. So tell us a little bit about those early days. What are some of the challenges you went through? How did you make this happen?
Well, yeah, I mean, I knew something about beer because I was a home brewer, and I knew something about packaging and equipment because I'd been working as an engineer, optimizing similar equipment. But I knew nothing about I knew nothing about the logistics and the handling of cans, and I can remember the first day that a full tractor trailer load of cans showed up at our facility, and we had no idea how we were going to even unload the truck because we didn't have a loading dock. So, we had our friends, come over and help us drag these pallets up to the back of the truck so we could get a forklift to lift them off. And it took us probably 3 hours to unload our first truck. We had no idea what we were doing. Um, my partner, who's my wife, her and I and her cousin, we were the first three that worked in the company. We did everything ourselves. We canned the beer at the breweries. We put labels on cans in our garage. It was crazy and it was chaos. Um, Luckily, those days are long behind us now, and we have proper systems and processes and buildings and staff to make everything much easier. But yeah, there was some days where we didn't know what the heck we were getting ourselves into, how we were going to do it, but we just rolled up our sleeves and said, "Let's just figure it out."
I love those stories. Yeah, it's hard to even picture, did I really do that? But you made it happen, and here you are today. So tell us a
Yeah,
little bit.
absolutely.
And now you are a cannery, correct? But you
Yeah, so
also have other. Well, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you. Tell us a little bit more about your business.
no, I didn't mean to cut you off either. So the what I first described, we call that our mobile canning. So that's where we will take the machinery to the facility that has the liquid on site, and we'll hook up to their tanks and package for them on site. We That's how we got started, and we still offer that service today. We have 4 vehicles that travel and do that service. But we also have our own facility, so we produce beverages in house, that are distributed regionally. We're on the east coast of Canada, so we supply grocery stores and liquor stores regionally with beverages that we manufacture in house. Some of them are brands that we own. Some of them are brands that our clients own, and we do it for clients. Then we also have two decorating lines that will put shrink sleeve decorations on cans, and we ship those cans to facilities that have their own packaging equipment on site. Then we also can develop beverages. So if you had an idea for a beverage, and maybe you were a social media influencer or an aspiring entrepreneur, and you wanted somebody that could help bring your vision to life, we have experts and scientists that can do that. And then we have two graphic designers in house. We can do marketing strategy, branding, label design. And we also, through all of this, have really tight relationships with can manufacturers, with plants throughout North America. So if you had a beverage company anywhere in North America, we could likely supply you with cans at a very competitive price, from a plant that's not too far away from where you need those cans.
Oh, that's quite a lot that you do. Is there one area that you're focused on right now and growing?
Yeah, the biggest two, well, there's two. The
Okay.
biggest two for us are the co-packing plant where we manufacture the beverages. That's a significant growth area for us. And then the second one is distributing cans directly from the manufacturer. So we just drop ship from the manufacturer to the customer location. So that's really starting to grow quickly for us. As I mentioned, we're located in Eastern Canada, but we have clients throughout North America that we supply cans to through our manufacturing partners.
Okay. And I think when we spoke the other day, you mentioned that you are looking for a sales professional to help you grow one of your lines. What was that area that you're looking for someone to lead for you?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So we do have a small sales team right now, but we are looking to add to that sales team specifically for the purpose of growing that can distribution business. So we're looking for somebody that can help us build great relationships with new clients throughout North America, and help us serve those clients with really great service and deliver them the cans that they need.
And where would that person have to be located? Would they have to be in Canada or the United States? Is it a remote position?
We're pretty open on that, honestly. A lot of business nowadays is done just like this on a video call. So we're open to having somebody local or somebody in the United States. Most of the clients are in the United States, so that could be a really great fit for us to get somebody maybe who's in a different part of North America.
And is there a specific background as far as experience goes that you might be looking for?
Um, Definitely somebody who is focused on the client. That's really one of our values, is being customer centric. Um, Having some sort of experience in CPG would be helpful, or in the beverage or brewery industry, that would certainly be helpful. A little bit of technical know-how is a good thing too, because there are some technical nuances when it comes to material specifications and helping our clients troubleshoot problems, that type of thing.
Great, thank you. And you touched on your core values, and of course, I do want to dig a little bit into them. Could you share with us your core values and just a little bit about how it shows up in your workplace?
Yeah, certainly. So we probably have too many core values. Something we might want to do at some point is narrow them down a little bit to make them a little bit easier for our um, team to be able to memorize them and really feel a deep sense of ownership over them. But um, what we have is, first one is a safety mindset. Everything that we do, we have to be safe, especially on the mobile canning side when we're traveling to customer locations with trucks and trailers and equipment, and in Canada with bad weather sometimes. So the way that that shows up, we do a toolbox talk in the mornings, where we'll go over the plan for the day with that team, and then they have pre departure checklists that they have to go through, which includes like a safety check on the vehicle and the trailer. That's just one of the ways it shows up. We really focus on having, we pride ourselves on being innovators and adaptable. So that's something that we really try and drive through to our people. So we're really focusing on listening to our clients and their needs and being able to come up with solutions, even if those solutions maybe aren't something we've ever done before. But if it's going to help them, we're adaptable to be able to do that. And we're also adaptable to changing trends in the industry. So we tend to pivot pretty quickly, hence all the different parts of our business where we started off doing basically one thing, which was the mobile canning. We now do 7 or 8 different things, because we're pretty adaptable. We really are building a culture of ownership and accountability. So we want to be able to, as the company continues to grow, the leaders that we have, they feel that they're really empowered to drive the results in their area and take ownership over that. And we really try to make sure that that accountability is maintained. We have monthly meetings with all of our leaders where they have to provide updates on their KPIs, how they're doing on their KPIs, what challenges have they solved, what challenges do they need maybe help from our other leaders to solve. That really helps to create that sense of ownership. We're sustainability minded, so we try and, when we choose products that we're going to offer to our clients, we try and choose products that we've vetted, that we know that we're doing um, something that's good for the environment compared to the alternatives. So, obviously in consumer packaged goods, there is waste in that industry with packaging, but we focused on aluminum cans because they're more highly recyclable than bottles. They get returned at a higher rate than bottles. They're easier to ship. In terms of where we get our aluminum cans from, we endeavor to source them from the plant that's closest to where they need to end up, and everything is shipped on two-way dunnage. So all the pallets and all of the tier sheets that separate the cans, they're all plastic and reusable, and we make sure that they get returned back into the supply chain so they can be reused many, many, many times. Next one that we have is customer centric, and kind of goes hand in hand with the adaptability. So we really do focus on trying to listen rather than talk, and make sure that we're doing everything we can to give our customers, our clients, a great experience. Um, we're results oriented, so we celebrate results over activity. And this is one that we've had to battle a little bit because early on we had this, roll up your sleeves and get the job done attitude because we were young and scrappy and we were figuring things out for the first time. So we developed a culture that was really excited about, look how hard I worked. Look at and over time we've had to evolve that to get past, focusing on the activity. Oh, I worked 12 hours yesterday. No, let's focus on the outcomes. So yeah, I don't respectfully, I don't care about how hard it was to do it. I care about, what was achieved and what did you learn, and how is that going to help our clients and help our business.
I love
That
that. I'm
yeah,
sorry. I just have to interject here. I think that is so interesting. And a lot of businesses are moving towards the result oriented culture. I know we're focused on that on at AHA. I don't check in to
absolutely.
see that everybody's there working the hardest they can because I know the results at the end of the day are going to be amazing results and what we want to see. And it's so interesting the way you noticed that in your culture where you had to do a significant shift and an intentional shift in order to change that because in the beginning you needed to focus more on the actions. I find that so interesting. And tell us a little bit about how long do you think that took to make that shift?
It's been one of the biggest challenges in this business, to be honest with you. It's still an ongoing battle. I catch myself, um, not I shouldn't say catch myself. I do it intentionally, but I'd say at least once a week, I need to correct somebody and I try and do it in a respectful way. But they'll say, "Oh, I worked on this for 4 hours last night," and and I'll suggest to them like, "Well, okay, you know, I don't like that you're working for 4 hours last night. That doesn't make me feel like you're a better worker or more dedicated to the job. I What that does for me is it makes me think of, are there better ways that you could be working or organizing or planning so that way you don't have to be working 4 hours at night when you should be with your family."
Mm.
So, can we dig into that a little bit and think about how we can set you up for the next time so that way, you can get things done in a more balanced way and a more controlled way, so that way, you don't have to make these heroic efforts because I don't want you doing that.
I think that is a great way of putting it. There's been such a focus on what's been called work-life balance, and
Yes.
specifically since the pandemic, it's become what everybody wants, but nobody's really defined it clearly. I don't think. And to me, work-life balance or what you want to achieve are great results without working yourself to death and having time to do the other things you want in life. And it's also, if there's a way to be more creative with how you do it. And I love how you put that, and I love that you're intentionally focusing on the results orientation and how that plays into the work-life balance.
Yeah, thank you. It's definitely something that we put a lot of focus on, and like I say, it's still a battle because, I think that a lot of us are raised with, that work ethic where it's about how hard you work is tied to your character. And we're really battling at Craft Coast to try and, separate those things and say, no, 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 it has nothing to do with your character. I mean, I appreciate your willingness to go the extra mile, so to speak, but let's figure out how to get the same results without you having to stretch yourself, outside of your comfort zone or outside of what should be a normal work day.
Mm. And here at AHA, we talk a lot about AI and how AI can optimize the workplace, make you more productive, and get better results. Does AI play into that at all to help with getting better results and not having to work as hard? Have you integrated AI at all in your business?
We absolutely have. Like a lot of things in the business, I like to test things out myself first, and once I'm comfortable with it and I can explain it in a simple way and teach others, then we'll roll it out. So this was very much the case with AI. I started playing with AI and probably figuring out what the use cases were for Craft Coast. And now we've started rolling it out company wide. So one area where we use AI a lot is in terms of developing standard operating procedures. That's sped up the process of writing an SOP from being something that would normally take people, half a day or a day, maybe 2 days to write an SOP to get all the wording right and the flow right. And now I've actually written a script with ChatGPT that you can just copy and paste and fill in a couple of blanks, and it'll turn out a pretty good framework for an SOP. And then the author just needs to go through and make some edits. And that takes about an hour. So we really accelerated that process, and as a result, we've developed a lot more SOPs, and we've created a lot more consistency in the company because we can act on producing these SOPs so quickly.
It's a great use of AI, and I'm sure as we move forward and learn more about it, you'll find more and more ways to integrate it into your business to be more
Ab-
productive.
Absolutely. I can another one I can use I can speak to as well as capturing meeting minutes. Every meeting I'm in, I have AI in the background taking notes. So at the end of the meeting, I can pull a summary out. I can send it out to the team so everybody can see the summary of the meeting. Or it also allows me, if I'm with a client, to be more focused on the client. I'm not stopping to take notes anymore. So I can really engage with the client, and then afterwards I can get back to them and say, "Hey, I really enjoyed talking to you about this, and this. From my notes, here are the next steps, etc."
That was one of the first things I started doing.
Yeah,
Before we even knew what ChatGPT was, I was using what I think you use the same tool, Otter.
that's
Um,
one of the things. Yeah,
it's one of my favorite tools, and I typically have it on in the background with every meeting I have, and it has made my life so much easier. And Otter has some built-in functions to it to summarize, but I actually like taking the transcript and putting it into either Claude or ChatGPT and
yeah,
summarizing that way. And I actually have little, I call them folders, but they're not really folders in Claude for each project, especially if it's related to a job in there. And so every conversation, every piece of information I've had related to that job order is within this chat in Claude. And I can just, instead of having to go through lots and lots of notes, I can just ask it, can you find such and such for me? What did the client say they specifically needed in skills? What would the minimum tech skills for this? And it will find it for me instead of me having to go through. So I love tools like that. Um,
it's
um,
fantastic. Yeah, it's game changing for sure.
yes, yeah. So tell us a little bit about how you see yourself as a leader. What is your style?
Well, that's a tough question.
Yes.
Um, I try and I try and be friendly with everybody that I work with, but not friends. I find that um, it's important to keep those boundaries, and that's a mistake I made early on. Is working with friends, it becomes very awkward if there's any performance issues, and also, even if they don't do it consciously, friends will, I find, um, use the friendship to their advantage in some ways. Um, so friendly but not friends. I see my job. I see my job as setting the pace and setting the tone, setting what the minimum expectations are, but I try and leave space for the leaders that I lead, um, to put their stamp on things, and to have some creative license on how they operate. Again, we talked about with the values, but we really try and focus on the outcomes versus the activities. So if we can, if we know what the expected outcomes are, and that's the focus, and then we create the accountability through KPIs and monthly leadership meetings, then um, it makes my job as a leader quite a bit easier, honestly, than it was, at least early on in my leadership career, when I was a lot more like, it felt like more like the mom and dad show. Everybody would come to my partner, Melinda, and I and want an answer to everything and expected us to have all of the answers. Now it's a lot different where we've created those expectations and given our leaders some space. They're able to solve their own problems and they know where their limits are. So if it's a question of money, they know how much authority they have, and if it exceeds that, they know to come to me. Or if it's a question of something really critical for a client, and they feel like, okay, this is bigger than I can handle, they know where that line is, and they can come to me.
Yeah, you pretty much addressed my next question, which was has your leadership style changed
Oh, massively.
since the beginning? And
Massively, yeah,
yeah,
yes.
it usually does. And if it hasn't, then there's probably something you need to address. But I think that's great, and thank you for articulating that. So we only have a few minutes left, but I would like to leave some time just to see if there's anything else you would like to share that we haven't covered, or any particular advice you would like to share for maybe some new entrepreneurs that are just getting started in the manufacturing business.
Sure, absolutely. I guess one thing is, if anybody is considering getting into the manufacturing business, the number one thing I could say is know your numbers inside and out. Margins are tight in manufacturing generally. It's very capital intensive. It's very cash hungry. So really know your numbers and really watch your accounts receivable, because that can really make or break your success. Something that ties back to values that I didn't get to. Like I said, I have too many values in this company, but one that I would encourage everybody that is in a position where they need to do hiring or is looking to start a business, um, embracing diversity and inclusion. This, to me, this is a game changing strategy when you're intentional about it. And I don't mean intentional in terms of like, um, I don't know what the right way to say this is. We're not looking to hire diverse candidates for the sake of diversity, but we go out of our way to make sure that in our job postings and during the interview process, people from diverse backgrounds understand that um, they're welcome, and we encourage them to apply. They'll be evaluated the same as everybody's evaluated on an even playing field. But we found that doing that, encouraging applicants and encouraging people that are doing the hiring to make sure that they are, screening and interviewing a good cross section of applicants, you get a much stronger team. You get better engagement between departments. You get better different ideas. Early on, when we were a small company, it was kind of like an echo chamber where everybody thought the same way.
Mm.
Now, with a more diverse team, people with different backgrounds and skills, and maybe from different parts of the world, everybody brings something unique to the table. We get better outcomes that way. Um, and another thing I would suggest too is that if you do have people that maybe English is not their first language, um, we have a number of employees that are in that category with varying degrees of English. Some of them speak the language beautifully, others are learning. So making sure that the ones that are learning feel comfortable and know that they're not going to be judged or mocked for if they get a word wrong or a sentence wrong. Because I found getting ideas out of the ones that are learning English, it was slower, but once they felt comfortable, they open up and the ideas just start pouring out, and that's been really valuable for the business.
Wow, that's amazing advice. Of course, everything you said as far as diversity and inclusion is important, but I think you just gave some very practical tips in that area, and sometimes it's difficult to share a practical tip in any subject. So I appreciate that, and thank you. I think we could talk for another hour. You've shared so much wisdom, I- and I so appreciate you coming on and sharing this with us. I do want to make sure that we promote your job. So share with us the link, and we'll put it in the show notes. So if anybody's interested in joining your team for that sales position that you mentioned, they know how to reach out and get their application in. Is there any other way, if somebody's interested in speaking with you further, whether it's about employment or just your company in general, what is the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anybody in your audience is welcome to reach out to me. They can reach me by email. It's James at Craft. It's Craft with a C, like craft beer. Craft Coast Canning.com. Yeah, and if you want to include a link in the show notes for my email too, that would be fine.
We'll do that, and then if you get us the job posting link, we'll include that in the show notes as well.
Perfect.
I want to thank you for joining with me today. I know my audience got so many insights out of this. I know I did as well. And maybe we'll have you on in the future. It sounds like you have a lot more to share. So
It,
is
it,
it
it- sorry, go ahead.
No, go. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say it's been a pleasure. I really appreciate you having me on. I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and it was fun.
Yeah, it definitely was. So thank you. And that concludes this edition of Makers and Movers. Thank you again to my guest, James Ponting, for sharing his inspirational insights. Make sure to check out AHA Talent Experts on Facebook and LinkedIn to learn more and stay connected. If you enjoyed this episode, as I know I did, I hope you subscribe, rate, and review so we can keep bringing you captivating stories from leaders in manufacturing. Until next time, keep reaching for your dreams.